Hello, 8th graders. We're going to try something new here with this technology, and we're going to move right along with our English lessons. Now, I know that the week I was gone before school was out, I know that the substitute did some of these English lessons with you. However, I did receive a couple emails that a lot of you were either absent or you missed class because of various other reasons, because you were with another teacher or in the office for some reason. So I decided let's just review these lessons that you've already done, just so that everyone's at the same place and you can get a review, because it has been a couple of weeks since we've talked about this before. So you will either be getting a review or learning about this for the first time. Either way, it's good for everybody to kind of just get this little refresher in. So what I'm going to do is, when we do these kinds of lessons, I need you to either get a pen or a pencil and a piece of paper or a notebook or something to take notes with. So you are going to be taking notes as we go along. You can also screenshot any of this video that you want. So you can screenshot it so you can look back later. If, for example, if there's a chart, instead of writing everything down, you can easily just screenshot it, and then you have that always to reference to. You can always watch this video as many times as you would like. And if you do not have your grammar book, do not worry, because as you can see, it is on. I have taken pictures of it for you. So we're going to start right along here with prepositional phrases. So these prepositional phrases here, as a quick review: a preposition is a word that shows the relationship between a noun or a pronoun and another word in a sentence. If you were in my class in 6th grade, you remember hearing all those preposition songs, the one that we made up to Lady Gaga, the ones that we were singing. So you may remember some of those that we did before. But a preposition just basically shows location, time, and direction. So my friend Elena sings in the opera house. In is your preposition because it's showing where Elena is. My friend Elena sings near the opera house. Or sings outside the opera house or behind the opera house. All of those are prepositions because they're showing relationship. They're showing location, time, or direction. So if we look at this, and this is where I would screenshot this or take a picture of this right now, if you can. Here are a list of your common prepositions. Again, these are in alphabetical order, so if you're ever looking back on this and you need to find one, you can just look. It's kind of easier to find because they're alphabetized. But if you look at them, they really do, all these words show where something is located, the direction of something, or they show location, time, or direction. So if we're looking at these, you will notice also that some of them are one words, like about and above. But then you have some phrases like according to, instead of, on account of, in back of, in front of. And that whole phrase is one preposition. So if you're looking at the word according to, or the prepositional phrase, at the preposition according to, according is not just the preposition, it's according to. So that whole phrase, it counts as just the preposition. So again, you can either pause it at this time and write these down if you want to, if you think that's going to help you, or you can take a screenshot as well. So let's look at this first rule here. In a sentence, a preposition is always followed by a word called the object of the preposition. So the object may have one or more modifiers. So the opera will be performed on a large stage. My on is my preposition, and my stage is my object of preposition. Okay, so this is going to be the noun that follows the preposition. So you can ask yourself this question: the opera will be performed on, and you ask yourself, on what? Well, it's going to be on the stage. So that's your object of the preposition. So you have your preposition, and then you have your object of the preposition there. Okay, let's move right along here. Sometimes you're going to have a preposition that's going to be followed by one or more objects, and that's called a compound object of the preposition. So between City Hall and the library is the opera house. Between is your preposition. But when you have something like between, you know you have to be listing two things for something to be in between something. So then you have city hall and library, and both of those are your object of preposition, okay? But it's also called a compound object of preposition because there's two of them, or this is just your preposition. Okay, then for number 3, a preposition, its object or objects, and any modifiers from a prepositional phrase. So this is what this means. Elena sang the high notes with ease. With is your preposition. Ease is your object. So this whole thing would be your prepositional phrase. Over here, go back to number 2, between City Hall and the library is your prepositional phrase. And if we go to this one here, the prepositional phrase here would be on a large stage. So your prepositional phrase starts with your preposition and ends with your object. And if you have two objects, like here, City Hall and library, it ends with the last one and it includes all the words in between. So between City Hall and the library would be your whole prepositional phrase, or this one is just with ease. Many sentences will have more than one prepositional phrase, and each phrase includes a preposition and its objects on its own. Prepositional phrases do not like to share anything with each other, so they are very territorial. So if you look at this first sentence right here, during the performance we sat in the back of Paul, you have two prepositions, during and in. You then have two objects of your preposition, performance and Paul. Then what you're going to have is you're going to have your prepositional phrases. So my first prepositional phrase is during the performance, and my second one is in back of Paul. If you notice this preposition will never touch anything in this prepositional phrase. So they are always separated. They never cross over. One prepositional phrase has to end before another one begins. So that's kind of good to know. So in a sentence, you can have more than one preposition, and if you do, the prepositional phrase is going to be before that other prepositional phrase starts. So if you look over here, let me just get rid of this for you real quick. If you look over here, it's the same thing. You're going to have at is your preposition and in is a preposition. So my prepositional phrase, the object of the preposition for at has to come before the word in. So at the end, oh, I'm so sorry, I missed one. Here is another preposition, of. So in this case, you have three prepositions, at, of, and in. And in this sentence, the object of the preposition for at has to come before the word of. End. At what? At the end. Of, what is your object? It is opera. And in the audience, cheered. You're in where? In the audience. So you have three prepositions and three objects of prepositions. Then you're going to go ahead, and when you box each one in, those are your prepositional phrases. So if you notice, they're not overlapping each other at all. When one ends, then another one can begin. Okay. When the object of the preposition is a pronoun, you must be careful to always use the objective case of pronouns. So you don't want to use the subject case in the end of a preposition. You want to use the objective or the object. So Sheila attended the opera with them and me. Okay, so you have with is your preposition, and then you have a compound object, them, and me. please make sure you are using the objective case here for this pronoun, and then of course that would be your prepositional phrase. Oops. Okay. Then you may have noticed that many prepositions are words that can also function as adverbs. Remember that a preposition always has an object. Very important to know. An adverb does not have an object. So if you look at these two sentences here, we went inside the opera house, we went inside. Inside in both cases, you would say, okay, well, these are both prepositions. Inside is a preposition, and in the second one, inside is a preposition. However, in the second sentence, there's nothing after it. So because there's nothing after this, there can be no object. You can't have an object of a preposition, so it has to be an adverb. Where in this top one, we went inside the opera house. Inside is your preposition, and house would be your object of preposition. So inside the opera house would be your whole prepositional phrase. You can't do that with the second sentence because there's nothing else after. So in this case, inside is just an adverb. So you always have to make sure just because you see one of these words in a sentence doesn't automatically make it a preposition. You have to then see if there's an object. Okay. So let's go through here and let's go through some examples. Again, on the piece of paper that you have, please number 1 through 6. And we're going to go through and figure out what these prepositions are. Okay, so one opera by Richard Wagner is based on legends from earlier centuries. So the easiest way to do this is to go through and identify any prepositions that you see first. So I see one here, which is by. I see another one, which is on. And I see another one, which is from. So then I'm going to go through and I am going to pick what are my objects of each preposition. So do each one separately. One opera by Richard Wagner is based on legends from earlier centuries. So by is my preposition. And Richard Wagner is my whole object of preposition. And that is because it's a name and you can't separate somebody's full name. Second one, on legends from earlier centuries. Now this one should be kind of easy to pick out your object of preposition because the object of preposition must come after the word on, but it has to come before the word from because they cannot cross over. So this has to be legends. And my second object of preposition, or my last object of preposition, has to follow the word from. So from earlier centuries. So my object of preposition is just centuries. Now I can take, and all I have to do is then box the whole thing in from the start to the end, and those are my prepositional phrases. So my first prepositional phrase is by Richard Wagner. My second one is on legends, and my third one is from earlier centuries. Okay, number 2. The name of this famous opera is Lohengrin. Okay, so first let's find all your prepositions. And in this one, I only see one, and it is of. Then I have to find what is my object of preposition, the name of this famous opera. So of what? Of opera. I don't want any describing words in your object of preposition. Then once I have my preposition and my object of preposition, I box the whole thing in, and my prepositional phrase is of this famous opera. I would like you to pause this right now, and I would like you to do 3 through 6. And then when I come on, I'm going to give you the answers. So when you're done doing 3 to 6 on your own, I would like you to hit play again, and then you can figure out if your answers are correct. Okay, now that you have done 3 through 6, I'm going to box in each preposition 3 through 6 in a different color so they do not get confused. So number 3, the events of the complicated plot take place in the 20th century. I have 2 prepositions here. The first one is of the complicated plot, and the second one is in the 20th century, with of being my preposition, plot is my object, so my whole phrase is of the complicated plot. And in this one, in is my preposition, century is my object, and in the 20th century is the whole prepositional phrase. 4, my prepositional phrases are, oops, I did tell you I was going to be doing them in different colors. Okay, number 4, during the first act, by a swan, and into view. So in these, I have 3 prepositional phrases. The first one, during, is my preposition, act is my object. And the second one, by is my preposition, swan is my object. And in the last one, into is my preposition, and view is my object. Okay, number 5. According to legend, a marriage takes place between a knight and a princess. In this one, I have 2 prepositions. According to a legend, and this one is between a knight and a princess. Kind of goes on 2 lines there. So for my first prepositional phrase, according to is my whole preposition, and legend is my object. And in this one, between is my preposition. And again, remember, sometimes some prepositions lead to 2 objects. So between, knight is my object of preposition, and so is princess. But because princess is the last one, that's where my prepositional phrase has to end. And then my last sentence here, the famous melody of the wedding march from this opera is often played at weddings. So, of the wedding march is my first prepositional phrase. From this opera is another one. And at weddings is my last prepositional phrase. Of is a preposition. Wedding march would be your object of the preposition. It is the title of a song, so I can't break it up. In my second prepositional phrase, from is my object, and opera is my object of the preposition. So from is the preposition, opera is the object, and the prepositional phrase is from this opera. And the last one, at is my preposition, weddings is my object, and at weddings is my prepositional phrase. If you need any help understanding this lesson, if you have any questions, please email me and ask me. Otherwise, you are going to now log into Edulastic, and I do have a video on Schoology that explains how to log in, and you're going to answer questions on this lesson. It's kind of like a worksheet that you're doing. It's just online. When you have finished that, just hit submit, and I will get the answers. And if you have any questions, email me, and you can always watch this video again. Bye, 8th grade.